It's me, Jamie Lee Curtis, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby. We have a fun and exciting episode planned. As always, I don't know if I have a whole lot to talk about. I have one movie and one game.
Okay.
So we'll see how long that takes. But you're getting a feature of Sinners. It's already out, so that should tide you over. If you want to know our thoughts on Sinners, there's a whole podcast about it. So watch it now, please. Actually, wait, finish this podcast, and then go watch it. This is very important. Anyways, let's talk about a film. My favorite film is called The Fog, directed by John Carpenter. It actually isn't my favorite film, but it is pretty fun. I was going to pair this with The Mist because that would be funny, but also I think that would be too confusing. So I decided to save The Mist for a later day. So we're just talking about The Fog. I don't think The Fog is based on anything. It feels like it should be based off a Stephen King book, but it is not. At least I don't think it is. The Fog is it's a classic John Carpenter horror movie. Not as classic as the ones that you're thinking of, but classic in the sense that I think it's one of his first ones, which is kind of cool. It's nice to see where he started. Never mind, Halloween came out 2 years before. I changed my mind. This is actually an established classic that is everyone loves. Everyone loves The Fog. It's up there with one of his best horror movies. I'd say it's even better than Halloween, which is a lie that I just said. But The Fog is cool because it takes place in a seaside town. And if you know me, I love my seaside towns. A good old fishing village. But this one isn't a fishing village. It's a seaside town in Northern California. Like almost in the Pacific Northwest, but not quite. But the crux of the flick is it takes place, tiny town, 100 years ago. A bunch of pirates got betrayed by other pirates, murdered a bunch of these pirates. And now, 100 years later, the pirates have come back to life for revenge. And they live in the fog. The name of the film is The Fog. And they're in the fog. It's very scary. Every time the fog comes through the door, you never know when a ghost pirate is going to be behind you. Luckily, it hasn't been foggy in my area since I've seen the film. Otherwise, I'd be too scared to go to work. So hopefully I get over that before it gets foggy again, which hopefully shouldn't be soon, because I might be too scared. So that's the crux. Big spooky pirate ghosts are killing people. But there is a catch. There is a catch. They're only active for 1 hour out of the day around the 100-year anniversary of them being murked. So if you can survive from midnight to 1, then you should be good for at least 23 hours until the ghost pirates come back through the fog and murder you. So be careful. Everybody set your alarms for 11:58. If it's foggy outside in the middle of the night, set your alarms for 11:58 and then crawl into that old dresser drawer that you can barely fit into so that you can hide from the ghost pirates. That's basically what was going through my head while I was watching the movie. I'm like, why are these people still outside? Just hide. Dig a hole, get a Saddam Hussein hole, hide in the ground, and the ghost pirates won't be able to kill you. Unless, well, I guess, is fog denser than air, or is it less dense?
I think so.
It's denser. I guess that makes sense as to why it goes down, why it's down here with us instead of up
because
in
if
the
you turn your
cloud.
headlights on, you can't I think it's just everything's thicker.
Oh, So then I guess if you did have a Saddam Hussein hole, then the fog would go inside the hole. And that's no
I think so,
good.
yeah.
Because then the ghost pirates would see you, which is unfortunate. You don't want that.
I think the mist would rise.
Mist would rise. That's correct. Frank Darabont. So this would have been a perfect pairing, is what you're saying, and I missed
I'm
out.
just saying it would make it more confusing if you did do that because we're already confused.
Okay. So maybe not. It would have been funny to do 2 horror movies where bad things come out of smoky air. But I digress. I didn't do it. But yeah, that's the crux of the film. The story centers on a bunch of different characters. It's a classic ensemble cast full of quirky weirdos, except not really. Just an ensemble cast of people that will get murdered by the ghost pirates at some point. Hopefully not, but probably. The other quirky thing about these ghost pirates is that they like to break glass. At exactly midnight on the 100-year anniversary, like all the glass in town broke. A bunch of people got murdered. And the next day, everybody's pretty chill about it. They're just like, oh, man, this town's kind of falling apart. It's so weird. One night, everything just broke, and then a bunch of people turned out dead. And there's a ship that was out at sea that never made it back. It's odd. And they also went through a strange, luminescent fog patch that is going opposite the direction of wind, like a ghost fog. That's interesting, but I'm not going to care too much about that because we have to celebrate our town's centennial anniversary, which is a thing I guess people did in the 80s or 70s. They got very excited when their town hit 100 years old, which I guess if Minneapolis turned 200 years old or something, I guess I would be pretty stoked. But if all the windows in my place broke and all my friends got murdered, I don't think I would go to the fair. But that's just me. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody. Would you go to the fair?
It could be fun.
Okay. So then I'm just speaking for me. I don't want to speak for you because you love fairs.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. This is established canon.
I'm a fun guy.
You love going to fairs.
I love groups of people, and I love going to fair.
And especially celebrating something as important as this town existing for 100 years.
Yeah,
That is fun and cool.
very passionate.
I guess I don't understand their passion. I guess they could have minted a couple quarters or something that had the bicentennial date on it, and that would have been nice. I always like that. Or like a special license plate. Those are always fun. When it's like, Ohio has been around for 200 years, 250 years. We got a swanky new license plate. That would have been fun. But I guess it's just a town. Can't get a license plate just for your town. But anyways, there's just a fog that rolls through. One of our main characters is played by a young Jamie Lee Curtis, who is, if I had to guess, no older than 20 when in this movie, which is odd. She isn't the romantic lead, but she does sleep with someone immediately as soon as she enters the film. We don't see anything, thankfully, especially since the dude that she hooks up with is like 45 years old. I don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about that. So we're just not going to talk about it. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay. I don't want to talk about sexual assault. So we're just going to talk about funny ghost pirates. But she falls in love with this dude. His name is Nick. He is man. And I guess by extension, she could be lady. But she has more going on than man does. So man is a fisherman. And he loves fishing. Except he isn't on the boat for seemingly no reason. But his fishing boat is the one that gets marooned out in the middle of nowhere and everyone croaks on it. And so it's his goal to find the ghosts and stop. I don't know what his plan is on how he's going to kill the ghosts, but that's his goal. And so Jamie Lee Curtis, even though she's just a lowly hitchhiker and she just hooked up with this guy for fun, seemingly, I would hope. I guess I don't know. It isn't established. But she just hooks up with this dude and she's like basically going through the town. She's from San Francisco and she's trying to get up to Toronto. That's the one on the West Coast, right? Toronto.
I feel like we debated this at some point. I feel like it's on the West Coast.
Oh, where does Drake live? Is he an East Coast guy or a West Coast guy? You're probably correct. Let me just double check. Toronto is on the west side.
Okay.
Vancouver is on the west side.
West side? Okay.
West side.
So like someone gaslit me into thinking Toronto was on the east, and I knew that was wrong.
Toronto is on the east. It's close to New York City. Well, not New York City. It's close to Buffalo, New York.
Gotcha. I don't know the geography of Canada too well.
I don't know the geography of Canada. I know the geography of most other places, but Canada, for some reason,
Canada is just a mystery to me.
I don't know why. It doesn't seem that complicated.
Like 30% of the space, and then like 70% of the country is just like nothing.
Which would make you think that it would be easier to know.
Yeah.
That we should be able to know where the 30% of land that is inhabited is. Yeah. But we don't. And that's fine. That's just something we're going to have to deal with. That's okay. So Jamie Lee Curtis is trying to get to Vancouver because that's the one that's on the right side of the country. Well, I guess if you're looking at it on a map, it's on the left side of the country. Let's not get
it's in Canada.
Yeah, she's trying to get to Canada. Let's just simplify it even more. She's just passing along, but for some reason she loves Nick and his big fisherman muscles and his I don't know, coke bloat or something. There's something going on with that actor, but I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. Let's just move on. She's a drifter, so I don't really know why she's sticking around. I think if I was just trying to get to Canada from San Francisco and then a bunch of ghost pirates murdered a bunch of people, I don't think I would stick around. But I guess that's what makes me different from Jamie Lee Curtis, who is a strong and beautiful and powerful woman in a lot of ways. She's an icon. Although I guess she wasn't in 1980. She was just the girl from Halloween, which is degrading. Everyone should have been calling her a queen back then too, even though she was like 17 or whatever in Halloween. Who cares? Another one of our lead characters is played by Adrianne Barbeau, who I believe was she doinking John Carpenter? I think her and John Carpenter had a thing. Maybe not. Nope, they were married. Okay, they were doinking.
That was a thing.
That was a thing. They were married from 1979 to 1984. Perhaps they met on the set to The Fog. Wouldn't that be so cute? Probably that's probably true, actually, because that lines up like perfectly. So that's pretty fun. She's in it, and she plays the owner of a local radio station, which is headquartered in a lighthouse, which is maybe the coolest thing that I've ever seen in a horror movie, because she's at the top of the lighthouse and she has like all of the like recording like stuff, all the radio equipment at the top. And this is going back to what we were saying about Sinners and the problem with modern lighting and being too uncreative or lazy or low budget, keeping the budget under whatever to shoot correctly at night. They didn't really have to worry about that because she literally works at a tower with a big ball of light at the top. And so at night, when she's like looking out over the sea and seeing the fog, there's like this like really great dramatic lighting where there's the light is spinning. So while this like big suspense is going on, where she's like announcing over the radio where the fog is going, it's like only being illuminated every couple of seconds. And I think that's so cool. It's so fun and visually interesting, as the kids at film school would say. So I like that. And also, Adrienne Barbeau she's like a sexy radio host. I don't really know how else to describe it. But basically, she's going on, and it's just like jazz. It isn't like, I mean, I guess jazz is kind of sexy, but it isn't like it's an R&B, sultry kind of radio station. It's just playing like traditional jazz. It's kind of weird. But she'll just be like, that was Miles Davis, one of the hunkiest horn players to ever blow into that big tube of brass. I sure hope that one of the fishermen in the dock is thinking about me while he's jacking off into a sock. Oh, please, I'm so wet. Anyways, let's listen to Charlie Parker. I love that.
Here's James Taylor.
Here's James. No, she doesn't do folk. No folk. It's all jazz, which makes no sense. She's also complaining the whole time that she isn't able to take any days off because no one else wants to work at this radio station. And I kind of see why. It's a weird target demo. Jazz heads who also like being like talked to in a sexual way while they're listening to jazz music. And I need to really emphasize this. It's not sexy jazz music. It's just like coffee house jazz. It's like really off. I don't understand why she's being so sexy, but that's the scene. That's her gimmick. And I guess it works because all of the fishermen out in sea are like pining for her. Their last moments on this mortal coil were like, man, I wish I could meet that hot jazz DJ. I would live far away on this boat. I would live in town and I would get a nice job to support my lovely wife, the hot radio DJ. And then they all get murked by the pirates. So none of those people even matter. But Adrienne Barbeau is pretty sick. She's kind of like the man in the chair in a lot of ways, where Nick and, well, I guess Man and Jamie Lee Curtis are kind of our boots on the ground force. They're out there trying to save the day. But Adrienne Barbeau is kind of cool because she like talks to them over the phone, but then like she kind of finds ways to sneak messages to Man and Jamie Lee Curtis over the radio, but like hide it in kind of her own little, I guess like in her own radio talk, which if you really think about it, why is she hiding the messages for these people? But it does make for some really cool and clever writing where like, she's just like, yeah, hey, the weather's looking nice today. Looks like there's some fog that is specifically reaching this building at this time. Someone who's listening to their radio maybe should check it out. It's a little bit more subtle than that, but you get the idea. That's kind of the vibe. And it's cool. It's fun. And like her having the eye in the sky on a technical level, it gets to show off and make sense of why we're seeing the fog from like a high vantage point. You could just do that and that's fine. But like the fact that we're seeing it from her perspective at the top of the lighthouse is pretty sick. And like we're getting her commentary too. It's honestly, that's the best stuff in the movie. The movie isn't like great. It isn't like one of his best horror movies ever, obviously. But it's like, it has the kind of vibe of like a campfire tale, which is why I think like it kind of makes sense for it. Like if it was a Stephen King story, I could totally see that because a lot of his stuff feels kind of campfire tale-y when he wants to be. But no, I don't even really know if I need to get into what happens at the end. I already said what I really like. And I like the Ghost Pirates. And I hope that they make the Fog too. So I guess that's how I want to end this review. Please pillage this IP. That's what I want. Is that okay to say these days?
I think it's encouraged
Oh,
if you're a studio. So
nice. Okay. Well, then maybe Warner Brothers will return my phone calls. Been trying to get my new movie made, but they aren't
we're on a hot
biting.
streak right now. So
I am? I haven't made any
Warner
movies.
Bros. Is.
Oh, Warner Bros. Is. Are they?
They got Minecraft and Sinners within a week.
Oh, I. Oh yeah, I guess I did see the Warner Brothers logo before Sinners. They are on a roll. Warner Brothers, if you want to keep that streak up, and by keep that streak up, I mean make a movie in 5 years, reach out. I would love to make a film. Specifically, I want it to be called The Fog 2. And
$90 million.
I'll do it. Actually, I don't know how much money it would take these days. Most of the money is going to go to John Carpenter because, as we all know, I think John Carpenter's, what's his quote? He has a quote that's very specific when it's like, whenever I hear from a studio that they want to remake my film, all I do is hold out my hand for the check. And that's his attitude, which I think if anyone else said that would be kind of scummy. But because I know that John Carpenter just likes to play video games all day and make techno music, I'm kind of fine with it. Like, yeah, get your bag, John Carpenter. You've made enough of a legacy that you can just kind of chill and play Doom in your basement while listening to the Tron Legacy soundtrack. I think he's earned it. So, John Carpenter, I guess if you're watching, let me remake your film. And by remake, I mean make a sequel. We're going to really focus in on why Jamie Lee Curtis was trying to get to Canada. And she's going to reprise her role because she did that for Halloween. So I have no reason to believe that she wouldn't do that for The Fog. And we're already in talks. I'm in talks with her agent, and she's on board 200%. So it's going to be a great film. There's going to be more ghost pirates and more lighthouses. That's kind of my idea for the sequel. And I think that's all that you really need these days to get an idea off the ground. So more ghosts, more lighthouses, big bucks. If you want to pawn this off to Blumhouse, I think that would be fine. I can probably work with them a little bit, but I think this would really do well as a neon picture or perhaps an A24 joint. I'm leaning more neon these days than A24. I'll say it. But okay. I do like a good A24 movie, but they just seem to be all over the map these days. So neon seems a little bit more consistent, but this also might be a little bit too lowbrow for neon. But I think we can make it work. So just reach out. I'd love to do The Fog too. But I can't really remember what else I was going to talk about today. I must have some of that classic brain fog. Oh, wait. It was the Indiana Jones game that I played and beat and 100%ed. Let's talk about Indiana Jones and the Big Circle, or whatever it's called. Yes, it's true. I have played the hit, critically acclaimed game Indiana Jones and the Big Circle. It's a very good game. I wanted to play it because it was developed by one of my favorite studios, Machine Games, who made Wolfenstein, The Old Colossus, Wolfenstein, The New Order, and Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus? Old Blood, New, whatever. They made the new Wolfenstein games. I don't know why I was trying to say the subtitles, which I love. I think they're some of the best single-player first-person shooters made, at least in the modern era, but also in general. I think they're really good. So I was very excited when I saw that they were making the Indiana Jones game. I thought I would give it a shot now that it is on Xbox Game Pass. And also people are playing it because it was released on PlayStation, because Xbox doesn't believe in exclusives anymore. Honestly, I don't know why. I think that this game is pretty good, and it's good enough to be a console seller, honestly, because it's so g-dang good. I will say, I'm not a huge Indiana Jones guy. I like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I like The Last Crusade. I have not seen Temple of Doom, The Crystal Skull, or The Dial of Destiny, which I think, yeah, that's the one that just came out like last year or the year before, whenever. So I'm not like an Indiana Jones super fan, but I'm a fan of adventure games, and I am a fan of history, and this game really does that for me, because unlike Wolfenstein, which is fun to see, like, well, I guess maybe fun is the wrong word, but it is cool. That's a worse word. It's interesting to see what locations in real life look like when they're taken over by the Nazis. It's kind of it's interesting and cool and thought-provoking to see New York City that was destroyed in Wolfenstein 2. It's a very haunting scene. I'm trying really hard not to say that the Nazi imagery is cool. So
I mean, they spent a lot of work making sure it looked cool. So
I know. It's unfortunate. It's one of the unfortunate facts of history.
it is.
Is that some of the Nazi imagery is not imagery, but like not aesthetic is kind of badass, but they are sniveling little worms that I hate. So I just need to get that out of the way. But it's really cool in this Indiana Jones game because I think most of it is like, I'm not going to say it's historically accurate because it is not, but there's a lot of like really interesting details that I was a big fan of. Where like, and this is like really small stuff, but like over the course of your adventures, you're going to different locations all over the globe. And each of those locations has a different currency, and it's all period appropriate. And they all have different cuisines and different like cultural things that you can find. And it's just really cool to see that in a game where you get to have fun and punch Nazis. But there's also just like this undercurrent where you can tell that they did their research, and it's really fun to see that. And every time I went to a new location, I was so excited to get the new fruit and bread and cash to see what it was. And it's so much fun. I don't know if it really matters. I don't want to go into the plot of Indiana Jones and the Big Circle. It's an Indiana Jones game. So he's trying to get an artifact before the Nazis get it. And if the Nazis get it, then the Nazis will win the war. So Indiana Jones has to get the artifact before the Nazis do. Otherwise, Hitler is going to have the power of Jesus Christ and Yahweh himself at his disposal. And that's pretty scary. You don't want Hitler to be the second coming of Christ and have all sorts of powers. You don't want that. Or at least I don't. I don't want to speak for you. You might love a holy Hitler. Maybe even saying that is something I shouldn't say. So I take that back. You don't want a holy Hitler, right?
Yeah, you can speak for me in that instance.
Okay. We don't want to see Hitler with the power of Yahweh behind him. And I guess the crux of the story in this is that there's this like ancient relic, or I guess zoom out even further. The big circle is basically a circle that you draw around the earth, and on points on that circle are different culturally significant sites, whether that be like the ziggurat of Ur, or the pyramids in Egypt, or Machu Picchu in Peru. Is that in Peru? Why am I second guessing where Machu Picchu is? Yes, it's in Peru. Okay. So it's basically this line that goes around the middle of the earth. And there's this theory that they're all connected, which in real life is a bunch of hooey, bunk, fake archaeology, and fake news, ultimately. But in the game, it's true. They are all connected. And if you take stones from each of these big cultural significant sites, then you can teleport to any of the other sites. And maybe, in fact, teleport anywhere in the world if you have all of them. And so that's what Hitler or the Nazis are trying to get. Imagine, if you will, living in New York City in the 1940s. You're putting on your suit and fedora and you're getting ready to work at business place and you're excited because you get to smack your secretary's ass and nobody can say anything about it. And on the subway, a bunch of Nazis out of nowhere just show up and start gunning down innocent civilians. That's the future that Indiana Jones must prevent because he's a good guy and he hates the Nazis.
One man
Against the forces of God. And that's the crux of the plot. He's got to get these stones, and they're all over the place, and he has to race against the Nazis to do it. That's the plot of every single Indiana Jones movie. Also, I just noticed this. Why is every single Indiana Jones, well, not every single, but like the big Indiana Jones movies are like specifically like everything that happens in Christianity is like true. Like everything in the Bible is accurate. I don't understand. It makes sense in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And maybe it is a little bit, maybe we should talk about this a little bit because Indiana Jones, first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, is specifically a Nazi revenge film that Spielberg was making because his dad fought in World War II. Growing up in the 50s and 60s, a lot of his family, I think he had family that were Holocaust survivors. So rightfully, he was pissed at the Nazis. Who wouldn't be? And so he made Raiders of the Lost Ark, where, hero gets to fight and kill Nazis. Then at the end of the movie, it's this old Jewish artifact that melts the face of every single Nazi except for hero and lady. And so I think that was like the whole point of that. And then Temple of Doom was like, okay, none of that. There's no Nazis in Temple of Doom. It's actually a prequel. It takes place like years before like Nazis were everywhere. Like they probably were like in power, but they weren't like all over the globe like they were a little bit later. And then in The Last Crusade, like they're like, we need to find what's it called? It's the cup that Jesus drank out of when he the night before he croaked. The
big gulp.
The big gulp. The holy big gulp. That's what they're trying to find. And I guess if you drink from the wrong cup, you die. I guess that's a little bit less Nazi revenge stuff there. But I guess not that Indiana Jones does get an autograph from Hitler in that movie, and Hitler doesn't recognize him, even though he's the one that's hunting Indiana Jones down, which is kind of funny. So that's Indiana Jones is basically inherently anti-Nazi propaganda, and I will stand for it because I like when Nazis die. Sorry if that's a controversial phrase. Hot take. I like when Nazis die. And if you're a Nazi right now and you're watching this or you're listening to this podcast,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? Why are
you here?
Yeah, kill yourself. That's what I say to any Nazi listening. Why don't you jump off a bridge? First, call your mom and let them know that they did nothing wrong. Or maybe they did. Maybe they're the reason that you're like this. And if that is the case, then call your mom and tell them that she's the reason that you're a terrible Nazi and you're going to do the world a favor by jumping off a bridge. This is satire.
satire.
I just
Not
wanted to get
legal
a.
advice.
Yeah, I wanted to say that as soon as I said what I just said, so that nobody can get angry at me at court.
But for real though.
But for real though, don't call your mom first. Just do it. Anyways, Indiana Jones must punch the Nazis, and it's very fun to punch Nazis in this game. I was a little bit like uneasy going into it because I'm like, why is this first person? I know that the Wolfenstein games are all first person, but like an Indiana Jones adventure game, that I guess making it third person would be like way too much like Uncharted, which I think they were trying to avoid. Even though Uncharted basically ripped Indiana Jones swag, but that's fine. I actually, this is not a hit piece on Uncharted. I like those games a lot. So, yeah. But the game is awesome because you get to punch Nazis, you get to shoot Nazis, and you get to beat Nazis, and you get to befriend a local giant who's played by the Candyman. That's not a joke. Is played by the Candyman, and I couldn't unsee him as that throughout the entire video game, which is a problem on me and not on the game itself. I was just like, that's the Candyman. I can't see him as anything else but the Candyman. Sorry. I just love black art so much. That's, yeah. I'm unable to see him as anything else. As a big scary demon that has bees everywhere. Yeah, but the gameplay actually is really, really awesome. The punches, they use all of the classic Lucasfilm punch and engine sound effects. It feels like you're in the game, which is the best kind of criticism that anyone can say about a video game. It really makes you feel like Indiana Jones in a very, very specific way, in that the whip sounds are the same as they are in the films, and so are the punch sounds. I will say this game would have been absolutely terrible if they didn't have the punch sounds, because those are like so iconic with the Indiana Jones franchise. They're some of the best punch sounds in general. They're so meaty. And I know like, frick, I think they like stacked a bunch of leather jackets on top of each other and then just went to town on them with some baseball bats, which is good Foley work, I'll say. Thank you, Ben Burt. If he did the sound design, I know he did the sound design for Star Wars. I have to imagine he probably did it for Indiana Jones too. Because the Wilhelm scream is in Indiana Jones. That was funny. Remember, well, maybe you don't remember, but that was like an inside joke that one guy did, and then everyone else bit that guy's swag. I'm using that phrase a lot today, and I don't know why. Why can people stop using the Wilhelm scream? I guess that's my plea. It is used in the
Everything is
game.
watching younger people not realize that that's like an inside joke, and they're like, "Wait, they're using the scream from wherever they saw it last."
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's it from? It's from like some really old, dusty movie from the 60s that Ben Burt watched in college, and he thought it was funny. And he was like, that's a weird scream. And if you watch the original like footage, it like is out of place. Like it really doesn't make any sense for the guy to be. I think he screams before falling into the water and drowning, even though there was nothing in the water. He just screams and kills himself, I guess, which is what every Nazi who's watching this podcast should do as well. Um, um, I don't even know if it's okay to make those jokes, but it's fine. I think it's okay.
I think morally it's perfectly okay. So
Okay.
I feel like,
Okay. Well, as long as morally it's okay.
yeah, I don't feel bad about it. So
Okay. I feel fine about it too. I just don't want any Nazis to be offended. I'm very concerned.
yeah,
Even though I wished death upon them multiple times in the last 10 minutes.
it's all love.
It's all love. Shout out
Listen,
Kid Rock one time. I don't know. I guess Kid Rock isn't a Nazi, but he appeals to the Nazis. So A shout out
He's
to
just dumb, which I guess is also another adjacent term for
yeah, that's
Nazis.
another term. Do Nazis? No, Nazis don't really. I don't think they're associated with insane clown posse. Juggalos are very
No, but I could
different.
see some.
There's some overlap.
Yeah,
I think there's
I feel
some.
like there. Yeah, whenever you have fringe groups like that, there's got to be like one person that's a Nazi in there, just like that weird guy.
That's true. I mean, there's probably more than that.
Yeah,
And no offense to the Juggalos, whoop whoop and all that, but
I just don't trust them
you don't.
in general.
Why? Is it the nitrous?
I they're I don't know. They're strange to me. Something about them is off.
The fact that they don't know how magnets work?
Yeah, potentially.
That's understandable. Yeah, I don't understand how magnets work either, I guess. That's the thing about me. I don't even own a compass. I'm too scared.
Mm.
What was I talking about? Indiana Jones?
Mm.
And I think we got Wilhelm scream. I was giving the history of that because it's an interesting tale. Yeah, Ben Burt saw that film, whatever it's called. I think it has like Sergeant Wilhelm. I think that's the character's name. Is Sergeant Wilhelm is the one that just dies, and he does the scream. Ben Burt thought it was funny. Thought he'd sneak it into this little B movie that he was working on, and then the B movie turned out to be Star Wars, and then everyone used it. And it started out as a fun little thing that Ben Burt did. Every movie he works on, he'd sneak it in. It became less sneaky the more times he did it. I think Return of the Jedi has like 3 or 4 Wilhelm screams in it. So he was really like, hey, this is my thing. I'm gonna do it. But then everyone else started doing it too. So stop using it. It is in the Indiana Jones game. I thought it was kind of funny, but also I'm like, I think it's done. I think it's run its course. The Wilhelm scream. And this is coming from someone who loves nostalgia and loves 80s callbacks. Stranger Things is my favorite show. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the It reboot was better than the original TV film. I frankly hate Tim Curry, and Bill Skarsgård scares me just on his own. So, and plus I love all the references to 80s stuff. There's no references to 80s stuff in Indiana Jones besides its very existence. So take with that as you will. But it is very, very fun. The puzzles are actually interesting and difficult. The game at no point really seems to handhold you. There's like no map markers. The HUD is like very minimal. No compass, no mini map, nothing. There's just a little picture of whatever disguise you're wearing because, oh yeah, this is a Hitman game now, kind of. Just with the disguises, I guess. But Indiana Jones had disguises in his movies too, so I'll allow it. It's authentic to the source material in a way. So yeah, there's just that, and then like your little health bar, and that's it. The HUD there's just that in the little corner, and it's so refreshing. I love that. I feel like HUDs nowadays have become so cluttered, whether it's like a fun sci-fi shooter or something as minimal as even something. Well, I guess Counter-Strike, you need the mini map. That's a bad example. I take that back. I guess I don't really. I'm trying to think of like a really cluttered one. I guess like the classic example is like Call of Duty or something that like always has the weapons on the right side. Yeah, it's like that's bad. It should just be a little health bar, maybe a little mini map if you're feeling adventurous. But they should be small and relegated to the corners so that I can see what's going on. Get all that out of my face. And yeah, get rid of map markers too. That's like my pet peeve. I've been playing Oblivion, and that goddamn compass on the top always telling me where to go. I don't like it. Just let me explore and stop making me feel bad about not going in the correct door.
You
That's
can just unmark your request.
huh?
You can just
Anyways,
unmark your request.
no, I'm talking about Indiana Jones. There's no map markers. There's no, well, there are. If you open the map, there's like, hey, go here. But otherwise, it's like you can just go and you get to explore I don't even want to say any of the locations because that's half the fun is seeing where you go. I will say the third location, I guess the third major location. There's some locations where it's just like you're there for a little bit, you don't like fully explore. But the third location is like in a dense jungle. And that was the moment that I kind of not realized, but I noticed the game was like falling apart. This is a Bethesda game, so I guess I should have realized that it's buggy. It isn't developed by Bethesda, but whatever. And it did kind of fall apart. The draw distance is too low for like accurate shaders. And I guess I should say that like I was playing on max graphics with max ray tracing because I have a big beefy computer that can do it. And I was still getting like issues in that section of the game where like a lot of pop in, which this won't make sense to anyone that doesn't know games like that. But there's a lot of like pop in, and then like the lighting would like suddenly like turn off, which was especially bad in cutscenes, which are in engine, which usually I love because then like a dead body will be like take up the entire frame of the cutscene if it dies right in front of where the camera would go. And I think that's kind of funny when that happens. But it isn't funny when the lighting dies. And so it looks like the background is in a PS1 game. And then Indiana Jones is like this near perfect recreation of Harrison Ford's face and body. It's a little bit jarring. So, although I will sing this game's praises, give it a couple months. I'll say that. Wait for them to kind of iron out the bugs. And I think there was even some other bugs that I was experiencing but only in like that one area. So I don't know if it was just like because of all of the foliage and stuff going on that like it's too much for the game to handle. So hopefully they fix that because otherwise this would be like maybe a top 10 game for me. It's really, really fun. And before I pass this over to Babby, I do want to give a big trophy to Troy Baker for playing Indiana Jones. He does a absolutely perfect Harrison Ford impression to the point that I kind of thought it was AI. Not that AI does like a perfect job at recreating old voices, but I'm like, there's absolutely no way that someone was able to like completely match Harrison Ford's mannerisms like in his voice. It's crazy. He is insanely talented. I knew he was good as Joel, but this kind of like completely cemented him as like, wow, he's like one of the greats of voice acting right now. So shout out Troy Baker. Very good. I also want to give a big shout out to the modeling team. I think a big part of this, of selling this, is like nailing Harrison Ford's performance, because that is like so singular to basically everything that Harrison Ford has been in. It's the reason that like Disney is like done like recasting legacy characters, which is a phrase that I hate. Just legacy characters feels gross. But they don't want to hire legacy characters because they tried to do that with Harrison Ford and they failed. It's not even It's not Ansel Elgort. What's that dude's name? Who played Han Solo in Solo, a Star Wars story, my favorite film. It is Alden Ehrenreich. Really rolls off the tongue. No shade to him, but you can't really. I don't think if he had the Harrison Ford in him. If you just took Troy Baker's voice, he could do that. But maybe they should do a uh, the Cyrano de Bergerac thing, where Alden Ehrenreich is the face, and then Troy Baker is the voice. And then they use AI deepfake technology to overlay Troy Baker's Harrison Ford over Alden Ehrenreich's body and face so that it looks like he is Han Solo. That is my suggestion to Disney. Do you think they will respond and do that?
I know they're very open to suggestions, so
No. That's good. I think they're actually done. They said we aren't going to recast legacy characters because we started with the hardest pick. Like, we gave up. We tried the hardest thing that we could do, try to recapture Harrison Ford's charisma. And now we're done with the entire prospect. Don't even think about recasting Luke Skywalker, the most milquetoast dime a dozen hero. No, we have to dredge Mark Hamill out of being a voice actor to replay his younger self in the Mandolin or whatever that show is called. Mandolin and Grogus. I'm very excited for the film, of course. I love the Mandolin and Grogus and all the other funny characters like Carl Weathers. Shout out Carl Weathers. You were a real one. Too good for that show, honestly. I mean, the first season. The first season's good. But anyways, play Indiana Jones in 2 months. That's my recommendation. It's very good. Just needs to iron out some bugs. And then I think it will be an all-time great. But that's all I have to say today. I'm going to pass it on over to Baby for his segment of the show music.
music. There's a little bit of music this week.
Really?
A bit.
Just a
A
bit?
tiny crumb.
Oh. Okay.
No, there's a little bit more than a crumb. It's a big crumb.
Oh. A bagel? A biscuit,
Stuff that's
perhaps?
coming out soon. Announcement stuff, I guess. Indigo de Souza coming back. New album.
Oh.
July 25th. Should be pretty sick. I don't think I listened to her last album, but I do like the Any Shape You Take album from 2021. That one's cool. But I am kind of excited. I mean, she scratches an indie rock itch that I do enjoy. But yeah, so that's coming.
Yeah.
Lord is back.
Lord.
Lord, remember her?
Yeah,
She
from
did
that
the
Charlie
Royals song
XCX remix.
and from the Charlie XCX remix.
Girl So Confusing Lord.
Girl So Confusing remix, squashing the beef over a collab. It
Yeah.
wasn't really beef. It was just, I don't know.
It was beef.
Yeah, but this is her first follow-up since Solar Power in 2021. A very divisive record, as a lot of her fan base did not really enjoy it that much.
It's the Bud album.
It is, yeah. It's a solid album. There's some cool songs on it. I have not heard Melodrama or Pure Heroine, so I guess I'm disqualified from any music discourse ever.
Yeah.
I'll get to it eventually. I know. Hopefully it's still at a point where it's aging well. I feel like it is, but
Come on, it's
sometimes
Jack
the
Antonoff.
17
You love that
stuff-
guy.
I do, and at times, yeah. This new one, it's called Virgin, comes out June 27th. Cover art's crazy. I think she had a single come out this week. I didn't listen to it or anything yet. I'll probably just listen to the album when it comes out. But yeah, it's interesting. Kind of, she was like huge for a while, and then kind of took the Charlie route of just sticking to her guns, taking a while to release stuff, and now she's kind of popping back into the spotlight a little bit. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. But I don't know. I based off the last album, I don't really know where she's going to go direction wise with this, because that one was like a very beach summery kind of sound. And I guess I don't know. I always really loved Tennis Court specifically. I listened to that song like when it came out in 2013. I'm like, she's pretty good, and then I refused to listen to anything else for some reason. Yeah, I'll get to her old stuff eventually, but excited that it's coming out. So very cool. Next week We got Billy Woods on the 9th. I'm very excited for that. It's time. Yeah, I'll probably be doing a reaction for the channel on that one because I'll have a lot to say, I'm sure.
Nice.
But yeah, that's coming. It's gonna be a long one, but I am so excited. Yeah. I talked about that Peggy Flume collab thingy last week called Track One. The EP has now been announced and it will be out by the time this podcast is out. So it comes out tomorrow as of recording.
Oh wow.
It is 4 tracks. Those being track 1, Is It Real? AI Girlfriend, and The Ocean Is Fake.
Nice.
Those are Peggy names. The cover art's pretty good. uh, I don't really know what to expect from this. Track 1 was really weird. It was almost like the Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats collab. Whatever that freaking thing was called, the freaking Channel Chasers collab mixtape thingy that feels like it came out 10 years ago. Where is it? Uh, where are you?
I don't know.
Whatever that is. Unlocked. That's what it was. It kind of feels like that, where it's a more like absurdist, funny, kind of not serious collaboration, except this is kind of turned up a lot because Flume is not necessarily a hip hop producer. He's a little crazy.
Oh.
So we'll see what's going on with that, but I'm interested. It might be fun. Yeah. What else we got? Model Actress Pirouette comes out tomorrow, the album. I've only heard Cinderella as a single, but there has been other singles. But I'm excited to dig into the full thing. This has a lot of potential. Their first album is fantastic, and based off the first single I've heard, I expect nothing but perfection with this one. I shouldn't say perfection, but pretty good. I think they can hit the sophomore album pretty good here. But yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you say that the JPEG EP is called "We Live in a Society"?
I think I missed that detail.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was called "We Live in a Society."
On Spotify, the cover is just a stock photo of like a
Yes.
black hand and a white hand handshaking, and it says "We live in a society." That's nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I completely glanced over the name for some reason.
How
That
did you
just
miss that?
I blocked it out, I guess.
Seems
Yeah,
like the
that's
most important
detail.
part.
Yeah.
It's a
For some
Joker
reason, it did
meme.
not register that "We Live in a Society" is the name of that.
I can't believe that.
That's crazy. Okay. Well, that makes this the most anticipated thing. So,
And it's already out.
anyway, it is already out. So, great work. Yeah. What else we got? Sufjan.
Yeah.
The Carrie and Lowell 10th anniversary comes out end of May, but we got the Death with Dignity demo this week, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah. It's really good.
It's so freaking good. Yeah, I looked at the track list because I didn't really look at that too hard when this thing got announced. But there's a 14-minute version of 4th of July on
Yes.
the B-side of this thing. I am so curious.
I'm pumped.
Eugene is also on here twice. So
It is?
I'm guessing there's the one on the disc 2 was a demo, but it doesn't list it as a demo right now.
Oh, on Spotify it does.
Okay,
It
good.
says Eugene demo.
It'd be funny if it was just 2 Eugenes.
There is
Not a bad thing.
on, yeah, because this came out and I was like, man, this is so good. And I went back because Father John Misty released B-sides for I Love You Honey Bear last year for like the anniversary. And there's like, I think I Love You Honey Bear is on there twice. Like he did that. Like there's like 2 different demos for the same song. And it isn't very good. But like this is like so, it's so good. Like I'm shocked at how good these demos are sounding.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect album to begin with, so I'm
Yeah.
expecting just to be amazing. But yeah, getting the record at this one for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right. Stuff I listened to this week.
Oh boy.
This first one I have listened to, so I don't really have a lot to say about it, but I will mention it. This is Shearling, which is a continuation of Sprain, because Sprain I think is done and is now transformed into this. But this is a album called I Am Both Amen and Hallelujah. It's a 62-minute track,
Oh,
and that's it. Um, yeah, it's off-putting to say the least. It's post-rock in the way that post-rock is can be either really beautiful or kind of disturbing. This kind of falls more in the Swans disturbing area. I didn't give this full attention when I was listening to it, so I can't really say much about it, but there were some very interesting things going on in it. Um, I'll come back to it, but not right now.
okay.
But I did listen to it. It's a thing. Yeah. Okay. Stuff I will talk about. This came out and I had no idea this was a thing. Maybe I'm just stupid and wasn't looking deep enough. But there's some more Mother collab album with Sumac uh, called The Film. It's actually an album, so they kind of false advertised it there.
Yeah.
But kind of weird. Um, Sumac is a like sludge metal group. So this is a sludge metal mixed with spoken word poetry album, and it's as weird as that kind of sounds. Um, it is definitely a more Mother album in the fact that it is just insanely intense. It makes me shrivel up into a little ball, but it's pretty sick. I don't think I like it as much as The Great Bailout from last year. I think that might be her best work so far. That one was just like you her music you cannot run from. It is in your face and it is confrontational in the intensity, which is fantastic. And her poetry is amazing. But this kind of is we ditch the more jazz and ambient and weirdo sounds, and we get this insanely heavy sludge metal and droning kind of soundscape on here, which works pretty well. It's really, really, really well produced. I love when sludge metal is actually mixed in a really good way, because you can feel all the just like gross tones and stuff coming out of those guitars. So it's really great in that sense. I think subject matter wise, I feel like The Great Bailout focused on like colonialism and the context of like art and culture, which I thought was really interesting, especially going like specifically calling out like British museums and like all the pieces and money and all that. Um, so that I found that really interesting. This is more of the emotional effects of colonialism and like current day genocides that is just like populating our brains constantly. So it is more of like an emotional, visceral reaction to that, those kind of things, instead of a more broad overlook on how it can influence money and art and culture and has and whitewashing it and all that kind of stuff. So it's still very intense. It sounds great. The intensity between the two actually works pretty well. I wasn't sure how to feel about kind of her intense poetry over sludgy stuff, because sludge is more of a droning kind of thing, but I think the atmosphere fits pretty well. I think scene 2 is pretty great. Scene 3 also very good. Camera was really intense. I really love that one. And then the outro, Breathing Fire, is fantastic. Um, any more listens on it, just because it is such a kind of intense listen, but um, it's really good. I was not expecting this. It kind of just came out of nowhere. I've surprised myself a couple of times this year because I'm just not looking at what's coming out as much
Hmm.
until it drops. But that's also kind of fun because I get to check every Friday. I'm like, ooh, I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
So that's fun. But very, very, very good. Definitely recommend if you're into the sludgy stuff, or if you're just a more Mother fan, this is one that you cannot miss. Um, yeah. Alrighty. Big dog for this week. Another one that came out of nowhere, kind of. I just kind of forgot to talk about it last week. The announcement of it last week, I should say. Adrianne Lenker dropped a live album.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Live at Revolution Hall, which I believe is in Portland. Um, it is 43 tracks long
Oh.
for 2 hours. It's a beefy boy. Um, and it's the best thing I've heard this year.
Oh.
I don't know if I can give album of the year to a live album, but I'm doing it right now. Um, it's phenomenal. It's a live album in the sense that the songs are performed live, but it pretty much breaks conventions in a lot of live album ways. I feel like usually live albums you take one specific show or a couple of shows and kind of piece them together into a more set list that way. I think of like the best live albums I've heard. That Fishman's live album, I think, is all the same concert. So the pacing and the organization of the track list isn't really like a thing that they have to worry about.
Mhm.
Swans Are Dead, same kind of thing. I think that's kind of pulled from the entire final tour. So that has a little bit more care to how they pace it and everything.
What about Carrie and Lowell live?
Carrie and Lowell live is just playing Carrie and Lowell live. So they don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff, but it is
Mhm.
fantastic as always.
Mhm.
But this one kind of takes a very different approach to a live album in that it is sequenced in a way that makes it feel like a very intimate look at like the touring process almost, and just like because this is a folk artist who is just kind of in a very small group on stage. It's very different than like a live album where it's usually like you expect the big rock bands and stuff like Pink Floyd, the live kind of Pink Floyd stuff.
Yeah.
um this is like kind of a Polaroid zoom in on all things Adrian Lenker, and it comes across like incredible. You get like a lot of actual uh interactions with like crowd stuff that are interspliced in really cool ways. Um, there's literally like ambient noise of like people coming in through the doors and first getting into venues and sound checks, and there's live songs, but there's also like check songs that I think are like live studio takes that are also really interesting. But there's a lot of cool stuff in here, and it's paced incredibly well to the fact where I'm like, why don't live albums do this more? This feels like not the hardest thing in the world to do, to kind of pace it well. Um, but there's a perfect amount of like we get full live performances of songs, but then we have these little intermissions and interludes that kind of flow us to a new section. Um, we have kind of people introduced throughout. If she kind of talks about whoever is getting introduced on stage, they kind of do that, and then they'll be on featured on the next song and things. Um, I think I've only heard one full Adrian Lenker album, and then I've heard obviously a Big Thief album.
Mhm.
So there is new content on here, considering it's 43 songs, new to me. Um, but there's a lot of stuff off of Bright Future. There's also a lot of stuff off of songs from 2020, which I think we should listen to. It's like all the stuff on here is just incredible.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also like some deep cuts and older stuff. There's some Big Thief stuff on here as well. I think that's really cool too. It's not like a greatest hits kind of live album. We're kind of pulling into the archives for some of this stuff,
Mm.
which really works for it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
She plays
uh,
Indiana. That's my favorite Adrian Lenker song.
exactly. And sneezing. Um,
I
yeah,
don't know
that
sneezing.
no, that recording has someone sneezing in the crowd in it, and
Oh.
she just was like, I'm gonna put that in. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I will say I think time escaping all the way through, let's say, Noah at track 21. So that's track 6 through track 21 is absolute perfection in the pacing and the performance and everything. Like you have within that kind of section, you have Cattails, which I did not know what song that was, but it's phenomenal. It's just a sound check performance and it sounds so good. But then we have Ruined, we have Symbol, Real House live is incredible. Um, yeah, this I Do Love You song, I don't know where that's from, but it's amazing. Heavy Focus, Vampire Empire. It just keeps going and going and going, and it's just phenomenal throughout all of it. The vibes are just perfect. It is paced as well as like a live album can probably get, and that it does not feel like we're just like getting a second hand of a performance where I would much rather be there actually witnessing it, which is kind of how live albums play out. This feels like it's its own kind of contained thing, which is great. There's also like Free Treasure. This version has just like fire trucks in the background. All the mixing and like recording goes from lo-fi to incredibly crispy. Sometimes in the same song. I think the performance of which one is it? There's one song on here that has, I think it might, no, it's Promises of Pendulum. Starts with like what you could kind of view as like someone recording on their phone. So it's like a very like lo-fi recording. And then as soon as like the second verse kicks in and the instrumental builds, it goes swaps like abruptly to the like almost studio quality version of it, and it's really cool.
Hmm.
Um, So there's a whole different mix of like what seem like kind of demos. There's some like more studio session stuff where they're kind of just talking and you kind of just get to hear the dialogue between everybody. Um, and then it ends with like them singing happy birthday to everyone, and then anything live is a whole crowd song singing it. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it's fantastic. Like I was not expecting it to be this G dang good. But I don't know. It just shows the magic of what a concert can do, and you get to actually experience that in album form, which I think is something that doesn't really happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely recommend. It is the best thing I've heard this year, and it is ranked as the number ninth best live album ever on Album of the Year right now. That might go down a little bit, but I honestly think it might stay because this thing is the real deal.
Wow.
So it's the best thing she's released, in my opinion, even though it's not new content. But
Holy cow.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's I listened to, I got to like track 5 or 6. I'm like, this is cool, it's cool, and then from there, like everything just got turned up a notch, and it was just like, wow, why is this so good? I will say, press this on vinyl, please. The only option on your Bandcamp is to download it digitally or buy a cassette, and I don't know who's playing a 2-hour live album on a cassette. It's a double cassette, so I would like a vinyl release, please.
Yes.
This is a perfect album to release on vinyl. It would sound so good.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, but check it out. It's amazing. So I'll have to do some finagling with my year-end list if it stays up here because I don't know if I can give this album of the year
Why not?
technically. I don't know. It does feel like unique enough where I could actually justify it though. So
Yeah.
like Carrie and Lowell live, it's like I like it just as much as the original, but I'm just gonna say Carrie and Lowell. I'm not gonna like
Right, right.
specifically say the live album. But yeah, it was a fantastic experience and one that was kind of unexpected. So
Wow.
yeah, I think
That's
that's all I got.
fun.
Yeah, that kind of took up my week. So
I could see that. I've been listening to something pretty similar to that, actually.
okay.
I recently re-listened to 12 Golden Country Greats by Ween.
Oh,
It's a good album. Um, yeah. I'm not a huge Ween head. Are you a big Ween head?
not yet.
You're
We
not
need to
a.
do a couple on the channel.
We need to be Ween freaks
I don't,
by the end.
I don't. Yeah, I don't have enough experience, but I feel like I would.
Okay. I'll tell you, I love this country album. Mainly because you can tell that only one of them wanted to do it. The other one,
That's always a good sign.
it's a great sign. I don't know their names, but the Ocean Man guy basically wanted no part in this. Again, I haven't done any research. This is just based on what songs he's in. Because the first song is I'm Holding You, which is actually a really solid, like, cowboy song. And then, like, the rest of the, like, quote, like, traditional country songs are by one guy. And then the song Piss Up a Rope, which is already a classic. I love that
Classic.
song.
I've heard that.
It's good. I think it's unironically funny and good. In a way that, like, it isn't novelty to me. Where, like,
Okay.
I listen to it, like, you know, not because, like, it would be funny to listen to this song right now. It's like, no, I actually throw on Piss Up a Rope. I think it's funny. But he also did Fluffy, which is the outro, which might be the most subtly funny song that Ween has ever made because it's just like a circle. It's just like Fluffy, he's a dog on the porch. And it's just that for 3.5 minutes. There's little things where it's like Fluffy bit his leg on the porch. It's like a parody of like really sappy, melodramatic country songs. And it's perfect. Everything else is pretty fun. The like actual country songs, I think, are fun and good. But I like the quirky thing that the other guy made that you could tell that he didn't want to make a country album because I think that's funny. I listened to like, I think after that, I listened to like some songs off of Mollusk and Quebec and Chocolate and Cheese because those are
Hmm.
the Ween album covers that I recognized.
Of course.
And I'm like, oh, this isn't as funny as the
Yeah.
as the country album that they made as a goof, which I guess should be expected. I think it is funny that they made the country album and then a year later they made the Mollusk, which is like their most pop. Is it their most popular or is the Under Titty album the most popular?
I think they're both pretty popular. I
Yeah,
think the Mollusk is probably the most popular now, but
just because it has Ocean Man on it.
yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. But the songs I heard on it that weren't Ocean Man were pretty good.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do that on the channel at some point. I feel like
Okay.
that'd be a fun one.
Shout out Ween.
Shout out Ween.
They made a good album and it's a goofy one. So check out 12 Golden Country Greats. The fact that it's called that is perfect. 12,
Cover is perfect too.
12 Golden Country Greats by Ween.
And it's 10 songs.
It's
not 12.
I didn't even, how did I not notice that? This album is so funny. So check out that album. It's really good. I like, there's Powder Blue is funny. I don't want to go through every single track, but Powder Blue is really funny because it ends with like the traditional country thing where like every single instrument gets a solo. And then the guy's like, and this is Charlie Wilkins Jr. on the harmonica. Oh, you go, Charlie. And he's like doing that while all the instruments are going. And then as it ends, he says, and now give it up for Muhammad Ali. And then it just transitions into like a hoedown song and it's never mentioned again. So I don't really know what that reference is, but it's funny that it just randomly brings up Muhammad Ali. And then it goes into Mr. Richard Smoker, you're a no toker, I think. That's also the song where there's a break where it goes doodly dadu, and he's really hamming it up. So
Perfect.
it's a great album. I gave it a 95 on Album of the Year.
Okay.
I just think that Japanese cowboy is problematic.
Not Ween being problematic.
I know. Well, there is 1996. I guess it wasn't socially acceptable to call black people brother, as in the line is like a brother on skates. I mean, I guess Weezer was also doing that. What's that line? It's like, look at these homies dissing my girl. Why do they always front? Is that on Buddy Holly?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Worst line ever.
that's the worst. Oh, the worst line. Yeah, I was like, that's not the worst Weezer song. That's what you were saying.
No.
Yeah, it's not good. But there is that line in Japanese cowboy. It's supposed to be like things you wouldn't expect, like a Japanese cowboy or a brother on skates. Which is not a sentence I love saying, but it is written down and it is something that the Ween guy said. So shout out Ween, you're a real one, despite that, I guess. But that's it. That's really all the new stuff that I've been listening to. Just a Ween album. Other than that, I'm still listening to Lucy. I'm still listening to Bon Iver.
On ever.
And I have been revisiting In the Aeroplane Over the Sea for seemingly no reason. That's a
Sounds to
fall
be like
album. I don't know why I'm listening to it right now, but it is good. Some have even said the best.
Some people have said that.
I would not.
I wouldn't either, but
It's good. I don't.
it wouldn't be completely wrong, I guess.
Yeah.
It'd be respectable, but like
No, I think it's a fine pick. It's just not my
Yeah.
pick.
Mm-hmm.
My pick probably is 12 Golden Country Greats by Ween.
No, that's respectable.
Thank you. It's a unique pick. I think that I can confidently say that that is no one's best album ever. So
Now it is.
it is mine. Yeah. You didn't bring up that Casey Musgrave dropped a new song.
I didn't even know she did.
I didn't either until right now. It just showed up. It came out yesterday as of us recording. It's just
Yeah,
it's just Lost Highway with a cute little armadillo with a
Lynch.
cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess it is a David Lynch movie. Yeah, I was just drawn
Well,
in.
apparently, it's a cover of Hank Williams' "Lost Highway."
Oh, that's awesome. Right?
I guess I'm not tapped into Casey at all anymore. So
Oh, I'm not either. I still haven't listened to
Yeah.
the new album.
yeah,
That's okay. But that's all I've listened to. That's all I have to say, I think.
me too. I'm out of words.
You're out of words, huh?
I've reached my limit. You have to pay me $5 to get premium, so you
Oh,
can
wow.
continue me here saying words. I'm a subscription service.
Oh, that's fun. We should do that.
Yeah, I'll just count our words in every single podcast.
Yeah.
You've reached the limit for your free trial.
Give us money now to hear more words. I don't know if that's possible. I don't have the technology necessary to like speech recognize
Yeah.
and then like have the AI go through and determine what words are. I don't have enough time for that. Frankly,
Me neither.
I only have one word, and I'll give you this one for free. It's bye.